We welcome you to St. Louis, Missouri for the preview of Arch Madness, Missouri Valley Conference Tournament Championship game that's going to happen tonight between Indiana State, the 9 seed, and Evansville, the 8 seed. For Garrett Short, I'm Corey Clark. We'll bring you the play-by-play coverage tonight on WZIS, Z90.7 FM. Tune in at 6:30 Eastern Time, 7 p.m. for tip-off. So Garrett, tonight, big game between Indiana State and Evansville. Winner does move on to take on the number 1 seed of the Illinois State Redbirds tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, noon Central Time. But first, they have to get past each other tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough matchup indeed, Corey. We got two teams that were very evenly matched in the regular season. Both games decided by a total of 3 points. Yeah. That's how close these two teams are. First matchup, 85-84. Next matchup, 65-63. So we know this is going to be a competitive game. And I'm really excited to see how this one plays out because maybe one of these teams can pull off a Cinderella story, and especially against kind of a weak Illinois State team right now. Mikhail McIntosh, not fully healthy. This will be very interesting.
But first, you have to get past tonight, the Thursday night game, in order to move on to tomorrow. The last time these two teams played, Garrett mentioned, is a tight contest, a 3-point differential. They won the respective battles on their home court. The first time was in Terre Haute. Indiana State did get to win on a Brent Scott game winner of 13 seconds. And then the second game, Jalen Brown went down and hit 2 clutch free throws to give Evansville the lead. Coach Simmons and Coach Lansing are both very competitive coaches, both well known. They're in-state rivals within the state of Indiana. Coming here to St. Louis, Missouri, it's a big tournament task. But the keys to the game for Indiana State, because they've been iffy all year, they've been on and off. The three-pointer, they live and die by it. It depends what Indiana State team you're going to get for a win tonight. If you're Indiana State and Coach Greg Lansing, what are your 3 keys to the game?
Well, I would worry about things you can control. So 3-point shooting, you want to get the good looks, and that's going to be a key to the game. You want to get open shots, whether it's inside or out. Set a lot of screens, which is sometimes what they don't run enough motion. But for them, it's going to be about hustle and effort and winning the rebounding battle. Because it's not about size in that. You know, Brandon Murphy or TJ Bell might not be the biggest guys out there, but putting yourself in the position and outworking the other team to get those rebounds is going to be huge, especially when it's that close of a battle. Obviously, 3-point shooting will be great, but you can't always will yourself to make those shots. And then I'm going to say defense. The first game was an offensive showcase, really, for both teams. 85-84. That was an outburst for both teams, and we don't usually see that, especially out of these two teams. Evansville might have the firepower with Ryan Taylor and Jalen Brown, but you don't see that every game from them. So for Indiana State, they need to shut down at least one of those guys, especially Jalen Brown, who's unbelievable once he gets into the paint, doesn't miss from the free throw line. Speaking
of Jalen Brown, second team All-Missouri Valley Conference. That was just announced a few days ago. Brent Scott of Indiana State side was preseason first teamer. He dropped all the way to third team Missouri Valley Conference. Now, Garrett, if I was to be announced as like a third teamer All-Missouri Valley Conference player, I'd be ecstatic. But when you're at the very beginning, you're on the first team in the preseason poll, how big of a letdown is that for Brent Scott?
I think that when they got to the middle of the season, they started seeing themselves fall off a little bit, and their production wasn't as great as it had been early on, especially for Scott, who was scoring 18 points a game and was leading the conference at one point. But I think he saw that he wasn't going to get first team. When you see guys putting up 15 points a game and winning for Illinois State, that's not a recipe for success. For me, I was more pleased with Jordan Barnes getting on the freshman team, because all freshman team means that he's got a very bright future ahead. We've seen him be a catalyst for this offense and a little bit on the defense at times, especially when he produces on the offensive end of the floor. That's when this team is at its best, because if he's producing, that means a little bit of the defense has to go his way and shift over and defend him, and that leaves the availability open for Brenton Scott or Matt Van Zoik to light it up if they're making their shots.
And we happen to be in the hometown today of Mr. Jordan Barnes, the freshman, first team of all Missouri Valley Conference freshman team. He's from St. Louis, Missouri, a freshman, hoping to have a big day in front of his family. But we mentioned players from each team. Jalen Brown, he averages 20 points a game. Brent Scott, he averaged 18 points per game one time this year, was second in the Missouri Valley Conference leading scoring. That dropped off the last couple weeks. But besides those two players, for each team, who needs to step up, the underdog, the Cinderella, in this time in March?
Well, if you're Evansville right now, everyone is keying in on Jalen Brown. And a lot of offensive strategies would be to try and shut Jalen Brown down, but his shots are going to fall. And when he gets to the free throw line, he's 86% shooter.
Yeah.
So for teams, they need to shut down that secondary guy and make sure that Jalen Brown has to carry the entire team. So if I'm Indiana State and Greg Lansing, I am keying in on Ryan Taylor. Maybe put L'Quarius Page, who's done an unbelievable job.
Great job.
Especially in his defensive production this year. He's grown a lot offensively too, but make sure you shut down Taylor and make Evansville a one-dimensional team.
All right, and you look at Indiana State, what player would you like to step up? You know, you look at Brent Scott, you look at Clarius Page, who's a sophomore, unsung hero. What about someone like Matt Van Soyk or Niels Boone-Schoten, who Niels at this time last year shined, but also Matt Van Soyk, when he's on fire, the team's on fire. I mean, the last time Indiana State got a huge win was against Butler in the non-conference. Everybody knows about that. They're ranked 15th, 16th in some polls in the nation. And Matt shot 6-9 from the three-point line. Is he going to need to have some of those games to make a tournament run in March?
In this first game, these two teams are so evenly matched. He doesn't need to be Superman in this one. Matt Van Zoik isn't going to be able to take the ball to the cup and punish the rim like some of these guys, Mikhail McIntosh, Deontay Hawkins, that can in the Missouri Valley Conference tournament. But if he can put up 8-10 points and just give some consistency with the ball in his hand, because then it makes the defense shift over and they have that in their mind that we need to make sure that we focus in on a great shooter like Matt Van Zoik. So he would be my key player to the game for Indiana State. Because if he can shoot, this team just seems to, you can see them relax. They know that someone's going to be able to put the ball on the rim, especially from a long ways away.
Confidence is a big thing coming into Arch Madness tonight. Check it out. Indiana State, the 9 seed, versus Evansville, the 8 seed. The winner takes out the number 1 seed in the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament. The Illinois State Redbirds find out tonight who gets a W on WZIS Z90.7 FM. For Garrett Short, I'm Corey Clark. We'll see you at 6:30 p.m. tonight on the airwaves.